Today I got my cousin Corey Fuller with me. We this is our first time recording together. We really don't know what we're gonna talk about, but we're just gonna feel it. See where the conversation goes. I do want to start it off by simply introducing to those who don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Well, there ain't gonna be many. you know, it ain't gonna be many. I'll let you do it. Go ahead and tell the people who you are.
No, this your show, man. I'm coming on, cuz you gotta handle that. You introduce me, then I can fill in the gaps for you.
All right.
Left out. I want to see if you're gonna leave out some gaps. That's why I want you to do it.
Hey, so this is my first cousin, Corey Fuller. This is my big cousin. This is my grandma grandson. So, like I say, first cousin, 10-year NFL veteran, national champion at Florida State in 1993. Definitely one of the pillars in the community. He loves where he's from. That's the biggest thing. Somebody I've looked up to my entire life, and he is worthy of it in many different ways. But it's real simple. 10-year NFL vet, 1993 FSU champion, and big-time pillar in the Tallahassee community. Welcome to the show, cuz.
Thank you, cuz. Like you said, we are first cousins. Our mother and fathers, our brothers and sisters. It's just so many things I can say that I'm so proud of him for what he has accomplished and what he's doing in his young life and what he's always stood for and what he's always did as a young man, as a young boy. Him and his brother always came to grandmother's house and he always ran behind me and Fred. And they ran so much that they tried to emulate everything I did, which turned out to be very good. And that's what you see from our side of the family, the Hill side of our family. We're just with symbols of what we seen before us and what we didn't want to be. Right. Good, bad, and indifferent. So now we're here as great dads, black dads, trying to do more. He's on the law enforcement side. I'm on the coaching side. We both are pillars in the community. We're both trying to do things to bring a bright picture to black males in this North Florida area, and especially the community we come from, south side of Tallahassee. We both went to Rickards. We both walked and ran up and down them streets that he's patrolling now. So right. I worry every night. Every time I see something happen to a police officer, first thing I do is call him to make sure he all right. It doesn't matter what time of the night it is. Right. I have to call and make sure he's all right because I know we living in some crazy times. There's some crazy people out here. But just know he got a big family behind him now, so all you crazies, we get crazy too.
Hey, so you talked about me and my brother running behind you when we was young.
Right.
That kind of set up right where I want to be at. I had somebody to look up to.
Right.
My brother had somebody to look up to, my big cousin, my own father. And there were some other people we looked up to, our coaches, some of our teachers. But a lot of kids, they really don't have that person who they can go to that is a positive image in their life. You've decided to be a pillar in the community. You've decided to give and offer something to the people coming behind you. But why do you choose to do that versus just simply being successful in your own right and living your own life and worrying about your own family? Why is it important to you that you worry about other people that are coming behind you?
Because you simply know what happened to your first cousin, my brother, and it changed my life forever. Right. What changed me is what I was seeing before his death, not out of him, out of our community.
Right.
Out of young men that looked like us, that grew up in the neighborhood. If I start saying their names, you wouldn't know who I'm talking about. And it made me want to be different. So with me being a 70s baby and being a part of that first wave of crack, cocaine, and seeing what it did and how it decimated the projects, I vowed to myself that I wouldn't smoke drugs, I wouldn't drink, and I wanted to be different. And I took on the challenge. I wanted to be somebody not just you and Ryan looked up to, that other young people, black girls, black boys from the projects, from our side of town, from our schools, could say, if he did it, I can do it.
Right.
So I took a lot on as a young man. It was originally for grandma and my mama because I wanted to change the trajectory of our family, structure the dynamics. Y'all didn't grow up in the project, but y'all was there pretty much 3 out of the Saturdays of the week, out of the month, weekends. Y'all was at grandma's house. running around in the project. So you pretty much growed up in the project like we did without the day-to-day action. So once I realized that what I was surrounded by, I wanted to be the pillar of change.
Right.
And a lot of young kids today that play football in Tallahassee, like it was Gene Atkins, but nobody has a bigger presence than Corey Fuller making it on the young generation of football players. I think it just shockwave through the community, through the school system that you really can make it.
Right.
Like Wally made it. I made it. Both of us have, between both of us, we got 19 years of NFL experience.
That's a lot of experience.
And both of us come from Rickards. Gene Atkins got 10 years. He's from Rickards. But I just think when I made it, it just sent the shockwave because I was the one that came back and let people see what success looked like when it comes from the bottom.
Right. So you spoke of making it, and it's so many other people who made it from Tallahassee, and he ain't selling nobody short. That's not what he's trying to do. But he's thinking about the people that came through in his generation when the times truly was tough coming out of South City. So I could name 1,000 other people who have come out of this city. 1,000 is exaggerative, but you get my point. So, Corey, what you said, grandma was a lot of your motivation. A lot of these kids, they have motivations right there in front of them. They can see their mama's struggling. They don't know who their father is. They can see their brothers and sisters barely being able to get clothes to go to school when school starts. So they have the motivation right there in front of them. Why is it that you, at such an early age, you think, was able to see the motivation and use the motivation as fuel to become the person that you are today?
It was easy for me.
Yeah.
Like hearing grandmother and mama, my mama cry about them bills.
Yeah.
Daddy not being present, coming around periodically but not being present. It was easy for me to see that I didn't want to live like this. And I didn't want my mama and grandma to die in the projects. And, so I never saw an NFL player until Gene Atkins made it. Like a lot of people, a lot of kids that they want to be like, they never physically touch them. Yeah. They never get to see them. All they do is see ESPN or social media this day, and they see that guy they idolizing. My biggest idol was right there in the house. Right. And my uncles, them, they was big in the my road epitome. Your daddy was a military guy before he got out. So I've had a lot of examples right in front of me that I didn't have to go searching for outside. Then there was guys inside the community that was doing good. They was just doing bad, but they was enough of a man to tell me, hey, boo, don't do that. Don't get caught up. We see you got a gift. And so, but the real motivation comes from right inside of the house, right on top of that hill.
So how bad did you want it coming up?
I wanted it bad. Once I realized that I had a real special gift, and I was special in football and track and baseball, I really dove into it. I gave everything I had to the game of football. Like me making it wasn't no accident. Yeah,
it was very intentional.
It was very intentional, and it was what I wanted to do. The problem is I dreamed so hard and went so hard after it. I didn't dream on nothing else. So post-career became a challenge more than anything. It wasn't a challenge chasing my dream. What was the challenge is it was very challenging not to give in to all the other things that came along with the community, being with your boys, the temptations. That's what I'm mostly proud about, to be honest, cuz never having a drink, never being high. Yep. Coming from Rickards where they say nothing good is supposed to come out of. It's so much. There's so many things that when people introduce me to speak, a lot of times I want to walk up there and I'm almost have tears in my eyes, even at 52 years old, because I know how hard it is to come from the bottom.
Yeah. Tell me, let's get a little deep. What do you think was the difference between, because we know your brother, my cousin. One, I think I was in kindergarten when he passed. Why do you think you was able to go one way and he chose another path? What was the difference?
The difference is, so let me look dead in this camera because I don't know how many young boys gonna watch this, siblings, mothers. You're doing the right thing regardless. You're trying to give your kids an opportunity They're eating out the same pots. When kids or someone make their mind up that they gonna go left, they gonna go left. And the only thing gonna bring them back right is God. And sometimes you have to deal with the answer God give you. And in that case, it was my brother Depp that we had to deal with. Because when he went left, he went left. Fred had just as much or more talent than me in certain sports. And he just wouldn't get right. But once he started making that money at a young age, selling them drugs and carrying guns, and Fred ran the crew that he was with, so it was very hard for him to come back to the right side. And so once I realized that I couldn't save him, I did the second best thing, and that was dive into me even more. Yeah. And I told him the last real conversation we had, I gave Fred a pair of Michael Jordans, and I told him, I'm going to make it, man. You don't got to do all this stuff. I was at Florida State. I said, I'm going to make it. And he never saw me made it. That was the hardest thing next to his death was me making it and him not being able to part to see me do it. Right. And I don't, I live a little different than a lot of people do. I don't believe they looking down or looking over us. God is looking over us and looking down and handling us, taking care of us, making a way for us to provide for each other. I deal with grieving different now, especially when people die. I first thing I ask, how old was they? Yeah. So when you lose someone at a young age and it's your sibling and it's only two of y'all, it changed your perspective on life. Right. And once I realized that dying, living is the first part of death. Because if you don't live, you don't die. You can't die. Right. So you got to live to die. And dying comes along with living.
Right. I tell a lot of people, you got some people out here living, but they really ain't living. They already dead. They just dead men walking.
Yeah, we got a lot of people spiritually dead, and then we got a lot of people incarcerated that's dead, and then we got a lot of people that's free that's dead. Like the thing about it is, that's not shocking because I never came that far out. I think we might have rode our bike out to Cologne one time when we was kids, but you don't come that far out for what reason? Right. You got to think I'm a little older than you, so we were still in the time where racial tension was still high. Yeah. So we didn't get too far from our community because we was, as bad as people may think it was safe for us. Yeah. And so with all the violence that was going on, that's still going on in this community, in this city, it was going on back then. So you couldn't get too far away from your zone because if you get caught by the wrong side, it could be trouble. Right. But what I did find out through me having all these special gifts to play the game of football and run and all that, people don't bother with you unless you bother with them. Right. No matter what community you're from. Right. And so it's not a community in this town that I couldn't go to when I was growing up. And nobody ever tried to jump on me. Now, one thing I could do, I could fight real good. So that really wasn't going to be no issue neither. But I think a lot of young people today, they use excuses. Excuses are something that's stopping you from fixing the problem. Yeah.
It's forcing, it's almost like it's hindering you from seeing what reality is. And your reality is you ain't doing nothing with your life. You're not trying to do nothing with your life.
And it's just like you said before we got on the air that, I was just talking to my buddy, and he said it. If God decide to give you 70 plus years of living and you don't do nothing, young people, it's going to be a miserable life because you can't rob, you can't gangbang, you can't just be free for 50 plus years. Because I don't know no 25, 30-year-old gangsters. That's what people don't realize. Right. You age out of that too. But the problem is you've been committed so many problems for your future life because of your past life. Right. And so you're hurting yourself thinking that you ain't nothing, because that's what it really is. You don't think nothing of yourself to keep doing what you're doing when you know it ain't going nowhere.
One of the hardest things to do in my line of work is to take a young kid, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, who done got in trouble. One of the hardest things to get them to see is themselves when they're 30. 35, 40 years old because all they know is right now, and they think that right now is the most important thing in the world. But your future, not that it's more important, but it holds a lot of weight. In the things that you do today in your young life, they will truly affect who you are when you're older.
It's not they can't see their future. They don't see the decisions that they're making. Mm-hmm. The decisions that they're making to do wrong is going to devastate their future. Right. That's what they can't see. Right. So some of them think they're living so bad. It's almost like people that commit suicide. God forgive them. They think it's best to be dead than to live. Mm-hmm. They think what they're doing right now that they're not going to get grown. So they're really playing judge and jury on their own life because right. They don't have a belief in God. They don't believe that they're going to make it to a certain age. But society also tells them, and the numbers tell them, by 25 they will be dead or incarcerated.
So what's the point?
So what's the point? But you can't give up trying.
Right.
You know, if I would have gave up as a coach on a lot of kids, a lot of them wouldn't have made it through graduation. Mm-hmm. So everything you see me do, you see what you're trying to do, it is a top behavior that you have seen from people that you love. And it is to do what you do, one thing with a badge is another thing. Another thing to try to speak into somebody at the same time when you arrest them, it's a heart thing. Right. And a lot of people don't have hearts today.
Yep.
And so they'll think you crazy and they'll think you sick. Because when I had my dream and I used to tell people, I'm going to the NFL, they thought I was crazy and they thought I was sick. And then when I did it, oh yeah, Boucher said that. Mm-hmm. No, you didn't believe that. I did.
Right.
And so it's the same thing. If you save one kid, you believe that, and it's all worth it in the end.
Yeah, you talked about what's the point. And it make me think about a lot of kids who, when they get to that point where there is no hope, you wish and pray and hope that there was a daddy in that life right there that can be the difference and show them that, yeah, you don't believe in yourself, but I'm here to believe in you. And I know that you can do anything that you want to do, but a lot of these kids don't have that.
So let me give some free game to dads and little sons and little daughters. My dad saw me play one football game from the time I was 6 to 33. My dad wasn't very visible. My mom started going to games pretty much when I was going to 11th grade. Somebody told her, you know how good your son is. She wasn't even going to games, but she was trying to provide. I've wore hand-me-downs. I've been a recipient of food stamps and welfare. Listen, if you really want to make it, you can make it. Yeah. But you have to believe in yourself like no other. If you want to be a good daddy, you'll be a good daddy because you know why? My daddy, I was taught one behavior, but I learned how to take that behavior and break away from it. Mm-hmm. My daddy, by not being present, he made me different. So he actually done his job. But as people, and in young people, we have to find the silver lining even in a dark cloud. Mm-hmm. Adults have a problem with that today. We make an excuse. We give up so quick when something don't go right. You know, really, I should write a book about my life.
I don't know why you hadn't already.
You know, it's so many times I should have quit. It's so many times I should have gave up. It's so many excuses I could have used that would have diverted me from not being successful, not making it to the NFL, not moving grandma and mama out the project. And I'm going to tell y'all something. If you have a low mindset, if you never see nothing else, you're going to die like that because my grandmother, after I moved out the project, she wanted to go back. But she didn't know nothing else. And so you got to force yourself to want to see something else through the number one thing, it may not be the greatest, but it's going to give you a shot at a decent life is education. Mm-hmm. You got to start there. That's the only thing they're going to give you free in America. And to you daddies who having issues with your ex-wife, your baby mama, your girlfriend, and it comes to your kids, that's not an excuse to separate from your kids. That is 99% of the men you talk to that are not present in their kid's life, they blame it on the woman. And that kid didn't ask to be there. And most of them went through the same experience.
Right. So it's just a continuous cycle.
It's a generational It's generational teaching, generational curse that needs to be broke.
Right. It's not them, it's you. You haven't made up in your mind that you want to be something better than what you are.
Right.
And until you do that, you're going to always use her as the excuse as to why you aren't a good father. You're not a good father because you haven't chosen to be a good father yet.
So let me help the dads. I have a son that's 32, LaCory. But I found out 5 years old biologically he wasn't my son.
Right.
So now I got to make a decision. Do I be, because I love the kid, do I walk away? I had every right to walk away. I walked away from his mother. But I decided to be a man. I decided to be different.
Right.
And stay in his life. And to this day, I'm still in his life. I call him right now on this show. He gonna pick up the phone and say, "What's up, Dad?" He has kids. He's married now. And because of that decision, that helped change the narrative of a kid that would have been left out, lost, and bewildered about how was this man in my life, and then all of a sudden he just walk out. And so I know a lot of us black men, we learn on the run that grew up with a single mother. A lot of our trials are taught and our teaching come on the run. It is not normal behavior to try to be a great dad, a great husband, a role model. That's not normal, but I promise you, you can do it if you put your mind and your heart into it.
How much responsibility and accountability do you think that we have or are supposed to have for our community? Do we owe our community something when we've reached a certain level?
No, we don't. You don't owe nobody nothing but God and then the people that's directly connected to your mother, grandmother. It like nobody knows you're gonna make it. 9 times 10, most of them didn't even believe in it. You don't owe them nothing, but I think it's our duty to show them something different.
I like that a lot, man.
So I didn't owe nobody nothing. If I got $1 back for every dollar I gave away and helped and tried to give them, try to change the narrative for people when I was a professional athlete, I probably have $1 million more. You know,
one of my biggest tools when I'm working the street is being able to relate deeper than just being a black guy, just like a lot of the people I deal with. It's where I come from, the schools that I've gone to, the experiences that I've had. You know what I'm saying? That is the biggest tool that I could ever have. That's one of the main reasons why I became a police officer in the city where I'm from, because I know that when I'm working these streets.
But that's a heart thing too. So, you know, like you have a heart to help people. You have a heart to help your people. So, and two, it's like service. When people go in church, they're so nice. That's why people at the door, the greeters got to be right. Because you can turn a person's spirit off just by the greeter being wrong. And so you can get to a lot of people in that moment of their distress, or they wrong decision making, or they just need help from the police. You can get to them because you can relate to them.
Yeah, I put many people in my backseat. I take them to jail. I took them home, but I don't never put nobody in my backseat and not try to impact them in some positive way. Everybody deserves to hear something positive, despite no matter whether they've done something wrong, whether they've done something good. And who better to hear something good from than a police officer?
Especially in these days and times we're living in. You know, I know it's not an easy job. It's never been an easy job. Yeah. In the black community, we're taught to avoid, and that's what I always say. Like when I go on my rant sometime about the violence and stuff like that, y'all you won't help the police solve the crime, but you do know this is the same number you got to call when something going wrong with you. Like you can't have it both ways. And that's the problem with this generation of young people, generation of adults too. They want to have it both ways. Life is not a Hollywood ending.
Right.
If you want that, you got to make it become that.
Jesus said he don't like lukewarm people. You got to choose a side at the end of the day. I mean, some things are not just black and white. I get that. But at the end of the day, it's choices that need to be made in every single individual life. You need to choose how you want to do this thing called life. If you want to sit on this side of the tracks or this side of the tracks. But I promise you, if you try to sit on both, you'll never accomplish it.
Nah, you're going to be stuck. You know, we try so hard to fit in, to be validated, to be appreciated. And 90% of it is all because of material things. So right then and there, our brain is already cluttered for our future because we chase material things. And that's why I think God